So this is going to be a little bit longer reflection than normal. It's a bit of my reflection from being away and thinking about things that I observed and thought about while I was away in Iona. And I had a really good session with the Iona community and just came away from it feeling really lifted up. And I suppose really, for most of my life, as a minister, I kind of thought, my job was to grow the church, get it bigger, to see people engage and grow. And in some ways, the way I kind of knew to do that was kind of like big service and worship and preaching ministry. And what was stunning really was that, there was some really good worship, but it was just chilled, it was laid back, it was stripped back. There was no band, there was no purple backlighting, there wasn't a sermon. There might be some reflections or thoughts, but it wasn't anything you could describe as a sermon. And so, it was good. It made me connect with the divine in a way that I haven't really in a big marquee event for a long time. And one of the things I've been thinking about all of this stuff is this in the background, this kind of quiet revival thing that kind of like grew up a few months back. And I've always struggled with the word revival, mainly because I kind of think, what is it that we want to revive? And is God in the business of reviving old things? Actually, Jesus talks about how, the old things are good, but talks also about the new wineskins. And some things I think we do need to revive. I think we need to get away from the idea that the principal methods of engagement in God are classical, worship music, prayer meetings, Bible study, and actually, go back to something really old. Some of those older spiritual practices, new monastic stuff, which is why I'm exploring, kind of like Celtic new monastic spirituality. And in a book, don't forget we're here forever, Lamorna Ash goes to the kind of like the Christianity explored, goes to YWAM and doesn't find anything to offer there, but goes to the Iona community in a Scottish island in the middle of nowhere, and at the end decides to buy a cross. So in terms of this revival thing, I don't think we need revival. We need something that God is going to do something with the old, some of that old stuff, but in a new way. And I think younger people, these people who are suddenly spiritually awake, are seeking this spirituality because actually they've discovered this world of militarism, consumerism, capitalism doesn't hold what they need. It isn't scratching where they itch, but also I don't think they're particularly interested in the big church stuff. They're not looking for worship events. They're looking for real engagement with God. And I think that is going to look very, very, very different from what churches think they can offer. And I think it's going to be small. I think they're going to seek out the small. I think they're going to seek out the more authentic. And they're going to seek out churches that offer something of integrity and honesty and truthfulness and realness. And so I think small church that can be adapted, can change, can do things in a different way, is going to be an expression of church that they will engage with in a way that perhaps this thing, this evangelical thing that we think is so attractive isn't actually attractive at all. So where am I going with this? I think we need a confidence in the small things of the kingdom of God, because small things are adaptable, they're changeable, they can make differences very quickly. As you scale up in church, you can't really do creative different things because the scale doesn't work, but smaller churches can. So I think God is going to do something in the small in a way that maybe is going to stun the establishment. A few years ago I had a dream. I had a dream. I don't really have memorable dreams. But in this dream, young people were coming to God and they were bringing their offerings to God before God. But what was astounding was, first of all, God was just accepting this stuff, was the colour of their hair, which sounds really weird. But these were multiple coloured hair. And I suppose really this was significant to me, because I think that was saying that God is going to do something amongst the people that don't normally get accepted in our churches, amongst people who don't normally feel accepted in our churches. So I don't think God is going to revive the church. I think God is going to revive things that we've forgotten, old practices, spiritual practices, new monastic practices. But I think God is going to do something completely astounding and completely unprecedented and completely new.